Welcome to Superchargers. I'm Daniel Thomas. Let's go. G'day, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. My guest on this episode is Troy Lavinia. Troy is the founder of DailySOS. He is a dedicated spiritual coach who combines his business acumen with a deep commitment to personal growth. Troy helps others balance ambition with inner peace through daily spiritual practices. Troy and I got right into matters of consciousness, but in a really tangible and practical way. Enjoy this one, guys. Let's do it. Did you always have an entrepreneurial spirit? Was it something you were aware of when you were young or when you were a child? I mean, you're still young, but
I think they were thinking back on it, just in retrospect. I think that there were some signposts or some signs that I might be entrepreneurial, either entrepreneurial or just delinquent and unsuccessful, depending on how ambitious I was about it. You know, uh, a healthy questioning of authority was a part of
mm,
my childhood, and um, I liked making money at a young age. I didn't really do much about it, but I liked making money at a really young age, like selling candy bars and things like that for football programs to raise money. And then, uh, started working at a pretty young age. At age 13, just went door to door around my town and asked business owners if they needed anybody to work for the summer, and got a job as a dishwasher at like a real restaurant at age 13, working from like 4 p.m. till 2 a.m. Most days during the summer. And I think those types of jobs, from age 13 through 20, they really helped to shape my work ethic and my appreciation for um, finding other ways to make money. And was I think always pretty ambitious. Um, but I think looking back on it, I liked selling things. I liked working hard. I liked finding systems and ways of doing things that were more effective than what was being done. And I had a pretty strong desire to have nice things and find ways to get nice things. So if I look at my kind of childhood up through my early 20s, those are some of the signs that, maybe I was an entrepreneur, or would be an entrepreneur. Um,
I
yeah,
love I
and
love
I could
the
go.
yeah, I love the healthy questioning of authority. I think that's really I think that's so important. And I mean, when we're kids and we're just sort of thrown into school and we just have to kind of obey orders and stuff. So I think that you had that sort of ingrained, like what's this about? Like a bit of the why there, you know?
Yeah, 1,000%. And I never really enjoyed school. I don't know about you, but I found it very difficult. And I don't know if in today's day and age I would be diagnosed with something, but I could barely stay awake through class for 90 minutes. I wasn't very good at just sitting and receiving information. And there was really seemingly no purpose to it.
Mm.
Um, and just really, really didn't enjoy school. So got through high school. I played football pretty well, and so got to go to a really good college because of that primarily. And then I think I did pretty well in college, but just kind of getting by, not enjoying it. And you couldn't pay me. There's no amount of money you could pay me to go back to school for, another week for an MBA
I
or
just
anything like that.
I just sort of wish things were kind of laid out, like not to bring it back to me too much, but I did architecture, right? And when I went into architecture university, I just wish on the first day somebody had laid out like this is what it's going to cost you. This is the debt you're going to come out in. This is the reality of your first year in the industry. And I reckon out of the 80 students in the class, I reckon half of them would have walked. But it wasn't put like that. I mean, we knew that information, you could find it, but we didn't know the realities of the industry and all this. So I just wish that somebody had just been transparent about that on the first lecture.
Yeah, 1,000%. I mean, I just think if you look at our whole entire schooling system, it's pretty broken, from start to finish. And, I went to one of the best schools in the world. Was lucky enough to go to Wharton undergraduate for school. And even coming out of there, it was a fine school, but was not remotely prepared for the real world. And very little overlap between what we learn in school and the things that are actually going to be successful for us. And I was just talking to a younger person yesterday, and I don't think school's all that important. It's important to help you get on the work train. Like you need to get on the train, but then once somebody hires you, it's up to you to keep kind of jockeying your way for better and better seats that you enjoy more on the work train, and then ultimately starting your own business or finding kind of what your heart is really passionate about.
It sounds like there was sort of a healthy, call it wealth mindset already sort of instilled in you, or did you feel that was something that you had to change?
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah,
have good mentors around money, so it's something that I've really had to
uh,
work at, but it sounds
yeah.
like you sort of had a good foundation there.
No, you know what? This is something that we could connect on that I think would be pretty interesting to your listeners. It's a big, big thing for me. I actually didn't have a very good money mindset. Um, I had one person in my life, my uncle, who was a really good mentor for, wealth because he was a successful person and also really generous and loving. Really generous in his abundance, which was great. And then my parents were fine. They were both school teachers, and so we didn't make it. They didn't make a ton of money. We always had everything we needed. Um, but I always wanted more, right? But the wanting at the conscious level doesn't imply that there's actually a healthy mindset, I don't think,
Mm,
right?
mm,
And that's it's such a it can screw you up. And I think that's usually the case in a lot of ways. A lot of the things we want consciously and that our heart is telling us we should have and we should want, that's great. Like, amen. That's how we grow and how we expand. And, I think God or whatever you call God puts that in your heart because that's the universe's way of expanding, right? So, wanting more is a really healthy thing. Um, but that doesn't imply that the programs that have been installed in you are actually congruent with that. And so I actually had a really poor money mindset.
mm,
And it was something that I didn't realize until I started studying the subconscious mind and just understanding and seeing my situation. Um, I wanted to be wealthy and really successful, and I wanted to have a growing business, and I wanted to have um, freedom and independence financially and with my time. And I had started a business when I was 30 years old, and it was doing pretty well after a couple of years. We were making a few $1 million a year. We had at least $1 million in profit every year, but I wasn't accumulating any wealth. And I owned 100% of the business. And I think a lot of solopreneurs and entrepreneurs can relate to this. Yeah, you make money, but then tax time comes and you realize, like, wait a second, where did all my money go? Or, you're not really accumulating wealth and you find yourself getting up to 12, 13, 14 hours a day of work, turning over every stone that you can possibly turn over to be more successful or to make things work. But you're still not growing as easily or as well as you'd like to, or you're still not accumulating wealth. And that's a really painful, tight space to be in. And in my experience and the experience of the people that I've worked with the past couple of years and that I've just become friends with through our group, um, your outer situation is always dictated by your self-image, your identity, like those internal programs in your subconscious, whether it's your money, or how your relationships play out with romantic partnerships or employees or colleagues or bosses, or your fitness and what your body looks like and how you feel, and how much you smile. Like, all of those things are a product of your internal programming, and that
mm,
was downloaded as a human being and also through childhood from your parents, from marketing and everything that you've experienced from the time you were born until today. And if what you're seeing in your life doesn't match what you consciously want, you don't have as much money as you want, or your relationships aren't as easy or as abundant as you'd like them to be, or you're not as physically fit as you'd like to be, or anything else, or as successful, or etc. It's because your inner programming, your identity, your belief systems are out of whack with what you consciously want.
Hmm.
And that's totally normal. That just means you're growing and you're ambitious, which is great. But in order to get what you want, you have to rewire that. And that was something that I did with wealth probably 7 years ago now. And ever since I did that, and we can talk about how to do it, but ever since I did that, wealth has been easy,
Mm.
right? I'm not working any harder. I'm working a lot less hard, stressing a lot less than I used to, and accumulating wealth and having a ton of generosity and giving, a ton of it away, and just being kind of a great source of abundance financially. And it all has to do with your mindset and what you program into yourself. So we can talk about that if you'd like. I think that's something that's of interest to most entrepreneurs, is changing those mindsets around wealth or success or even relationships or how you manage people.
It's cool that you're, I mean, we're talking about falsely conditioned beliefs and
Yeah.
you know the way you refer to it as the way we're programmed, that resonates. And just from personal experience, thinking about what you're saying, like I went to London with a rock band. I left a career and just took a left turn and went to London with a rock band. And I had these sort of dreams of kind of rock stardom, but actually every night my drums were caving in around me, and it was actually like a reflection of this programming that we're talking about, and this sort of these falsely conditioned beliefs I had. So exactly what you're saying,
Yeah.
my external circumstances were manifesting from all the chaos that was going on within me. And the more frustrated I got, the more things sort of got. But once I really, like you said, worked at challenging these false core beliefs that I had and turning those around, things
Yeah.
started to shift and change. It might sound a bit strange, but it's good trying to explain it in a kind of tangible way like that, because it sounds like we've both had a similar journey in that way. And you're right, things for you, this concept of working less and achieving more is perhaps counterintuitive, but when that kind of alignment is there, things start
Yeah.
to come in, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It is. It's about alignment between your heart, your subconscious mind, and your activities and how you're focusing your energy every day. And when that's in alignment, it's like that really nice feeling if you've ever been paddling a boat and you've got the current and you're moving in
Mm,
the right direction and
yeah.
everything's really easy. And you can paddle nice and gentle and enjoy the scenery a bit too and really get to where you want to go really quickly. Um,
Yeah,
and
it's this.
like why? Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
No, it's just, yeah, this false wall of resistance we can put in front of ourselves. And another one, I was chatting to my dad. I put so much pressure on myself to score a goal in football or soccer that I put this invisible wall up in front of the goals, because I put that amount of
Mm,
pressure on myself.
yeah.
Whereas if I'd actually just tried to get more into the kind of presence and flow of it, I probably would have kicked a goal. But I put so much pressure on scoring that I placed an invisible wall in front of myself.
Yeah. So what's interesting, what I'm trying to change with this community that we've started in our daily 30-minute huddle is the fact that really for anyone trying to accomplish anything in life, let's use that rowboat analogy. If you're rowing a boat, you're trying to get to a destination, let's say a mile in front of you, and you can row, and that's kind of what you're doing above the surface. Those are your conscious activities. And we're trained from a really young age to use activities and tasks solely to accomplish what we want to accomplish, right? And so that's the equivalent of like, not let's not worry about the current, the speed or the direction of the current underneath our boat. let's just paddle as furiously as we can and try to stay focused on that point in the distance and try to get there. And we spend 99% of our time and energy trying to figure it out. We read books about how to do things in business or creativity or anything else. We spend 12 hours a day working, or as much time as we can working to try to accomplish this thing. But we ignore the subconscious mind and the spirit, right? And that's like ignoring the the speed and direction of the current underneath our boat. And the beauty of us as humans is we can actually change the speed and direction of the current by changing our spirit and changing our subconscious mind, or changing our access to spirit, really. And so that's what we're trying to do together. And the idea is just, we are, I believe, at our core spirit. And that's, call it love, light, life energy, whatever that kind of animating force is within us, that's inside. And then we have various layers of stuff that's built up around it, right? And like right above your spirit, you have all of these old programs that are invisible, that dictate how you see the world, how you make decisions, how you take action, and ultimately how other people see you and how things project out onto your reality, right? And then you have the screen of your reality, which is outside of all of that. And you can take a ton of action and not be getting what you want, or you can spend a little bit of time connecting with that source of life energy and light and love every day to expand your access to it. And you can spend a little bit of time doing some basic visualization exercises to change who you are with respect to your finances, or your ability to be successful, or your ability to have great relationships and abundance. And then what you end up thinking and doing, and how you act, and how people treat you, and how life unfolds for you, is just a domino effect from there. Um, but how bright you shine and your subconscious programs dictate 98%, I would guess, of what you see showing up in your life around you. But ironically, we spend 98% of our time focused on the hows and the whats, which are just really surface level things that are incidental relative to your spirit and your subconscious mind. Just like rowing the boat is pretty incidental relative to the speed and direction of the current if you were trying to get somewhere in a boat. And that's what we're trying to change. So we get together every morning for 30 minutes, open up our hearts, warm up our bodies, create a shared space, share love, just practice opening and receiving and enjoying love, which helps us shine bright. Because people who shine bright in life, and people who don't shine bright. And the people who shine bright, the velocity of their success, if they're programmed right, is tremendous. People who are dull, not so much, right? And so we practice shining bright. And then we do a guided meditation to slightly rewire who we're becoming, based specifically on what it is you're trying to accomplish in any given month. Um, and you can do that month after month for the rest of your life, and continue to grow into that next best version of yourself, and continue to shine brighter. And then what ends up showing up outside in life, it's not like you don't do anything, but the ideas that you get, and what you tend to notice, and the people that you notice in your life, and how you take action, it's all as that new person. And so you become that new person outside as soon as you become that person inside. Anyway, that's a lot of talking, but that's what we're doing together. And
No, I love it.
nothing, I didn't, I worked a lot harder with a lot less success when I was focused on the what and the how. And then once I started focusing on who I was and how bright I shined in my subconscious and my spirit, I was able to accomplish a tremendous amount with a lot more leverage. And so that's what I want to share with people.
That's awesome. And there's nothing airy fairy about that. I like that, you know, this flip You were saying about the 90% that's put into the kind of opposite things. But I'm wondering what's how do you call it associate intuition with tapping into the subconscious? How important is
Yeah.
intuition and instinct to you?
Yeah, I think that your subconscious, your connection with spirit, like the divine, that light, couple of thoughts on this. I think the channel, think of yourself like a channel or a pipe from the divine, invisible world into our physical world. And you can receive through you love. You receive it from the divine, enjoy it, flow it out. That same pipe, you expand it by practicing, experiencing, and enjoying love and sharing love. But that same pipe, imagine it's like your internet bandwidth or like a pipeline for oil. That same pipe also flows guidance and also flows abundance. And so the more you practice opening your heart or that pipe that you are, that channel that you are, by practicing receiving love from whatever your God is or whatever your source of light and love is, or the people around you, and receiving love and enjoying it and then flowing it out and sharing it, the more insight and creativity and intuition is given to you.
Mm.
And also the more kind of invisible magnetism goes through you as well, that allows you to notice the right things and have the right things gravitate to you. So that's one thought about that. And so I think it's really, to answer your question directly, I think that intuition is the product of your spirit and your subconscious. It's downstream. So if you think of yourself at your core, you are a light that's shining. And then right above that is your subconscious mind, those programs. So that's like a slide in the slide projector. And then what shows up in your conscious mind in the form of a spark of insight or intuition or your gut feel, those are all things that are downstream from that. So I connect with my higher power. I rewire myself to become the person that I want to be consciously. And based on that, the information that comes through me and makes it to my conscious mind and my body, that we could call emotion or intuition or insight or ideas. And then the next step out from that is decision and action and observation by others. And then the next step out from that is kind of the beautiful choreography of everything falling into place in our outside world, right? That's kind of the order of the sequence. And so I think intuition, ideas, insight, those things are all downstream from how brightly you're shining your spirit and your subconscious mind. Because if your subconscious mind is one of lack, let's say you have poor programming about money, and you say, well, how do I know I have poor programming about money? Do you have as much money as you want? Do you feel abundant? If not, you could probably improve your programming around money. But if you have poor programming around money, what shows up in your consciousness, in your conscious mind and body, that you would call intuition, is bad intuition.
Mm.
It's not going to be good. It's not.
Mm.
So your intuition around money isn't
It,
going to
it's
get you what you want,
it,
because it's being guided by a subconscious program
mm.
that isn't in alignment with what you want. And
That's
there's no good guys or bad guys. The program is just an old program. You put it in place for some reason to keep you safe at some point in your life.
mm.
Or we did it as a humanity to keep us safe. And you got that installed by default. But it's not helpful in the sense that what your conscious higher mind is telling you you want to be isn't in alignment with that old program. So anyway, that's my thought about that.
So back to
A lot of
back to the boat analogy, it's almost like the programming can muddy the waters in a way. The channels are getting muddied, so that intuitive thing may be inaccurate when the
Yeah,
pro the programming at the foundation is out of whack.
yeah. Or another way of thinking about it is going back to the boat analogy. My spirit dictates how fast the current is going, right? Like how bright I am, right? And like how much I'm able to receive, enjoy, and share love, let's say, right? That dictates how quickly the current is going. And then my subconscious programming dictates the direction that the current is going. And so if the current is going in the direction of point A in the distance, and that is based on a current that represents lack, which is my subconscious, right? So that I'm going to naturally drift anytime I stop paddling furiously to point B, which is wealth. I'm going to naturally drift to point A.
Mm.
And there's no amount of paddling that I can do realistically that's going to get me to point B when my subconscious mind has the current going directly to point A, which is lack. And so,
Mm.
what we're talking about with rewiring our subconscious mind is changing the direction of the current so that lack is no longer the direction that it's flowing. Your subconscious mind is flowing towards wealth. And then you can pull the paddles up, kick your heels up, and just enjoy the view and paddle once in a while just to keep yourself in the middle of the current and get to wealth. And
Allow the
that's what we're
current.
talking about with this. Yeah.
Yeah, allow the current to take you. That's classic because I was going to say, is it about then staying on course? But no, you've just summed it up beautifully, which is no, once you veer back off that lack, the current will take you, and you don't have to like fight to stay on that course. We could rip a
Yeah.
lot of boat analogies, but I think it
Yeah,
sums
that's
it up
right.
really, really well.
Thanks. Yeah, no, and it's just so interesting because you're not taught this by your parents unless they were like super evolved people. You're certainly not taught it in school, and you can pay $150,000 for education and not learn any of this.
Mm.
And you could even go to church and not really understand the essence of spirit, which is just how bright are you, how much do you enjoy and share love, right? How connected are you to source? And so yeah, it's probably 99% of our time and focus and energy is spent on how do I paddle this boat harder, or how do I get better oars for my boat, or how do I get a better boat, right? Like, it's like I'll spend $200,000 for a better boat and better oars, and I'm gonna row 8 hours a day instead of 1 hour a day. But that's not the right answer. The right
Mm.
answer is to open your heart so the current underneath your boat is ripping, and to change your subconscious mind so that the current is headed directly in the direction of the destination that you want. And that's what we're working on. You can work on that 30 minutes a day with us and probably start to accomplish more than you would if you spent 5 hours studying business or creative tactics.
So this daily practice, would you consider this like a non-negotiable for you in terms of it's a, doing
Yeah,
well, I don't even want to call it's not work, is it? It's like you're just
it's
you,
exercise, baby. So it's like the way I think about it is like nutrition, exercise, like movement, moving your body, those are non-negotiables. And sleep is a non-negotiable. And in the realm of what we're talking about, the non-negotiables are, for me at least, and what I would recommend to anyone is just connecting with your higher power for just a couple minutes every day, opening your heart, receiving love, asking for guidance, um, asking for healing, asking for um, the ability to be wide open and shine bright and feel good, and to
that
create something beautiful. And so like that's just some basic connection, whatever the authentic connection is for you. And like we've had 1,000 people go through our program, and we have, a bunch of people on there every morning for the past 2 years. And everyone's version of higher power is different.
Mm.
Some people call it God, some people call it the Great Spirit, some people call it their intuition if they're really, really stubborn. But whatever your God is, like that's your higher power, that's your source of love and light and how you conceive of it. So connect with that every day for a couple minutes, because that opens your heart. And the more open your heart is, the brighter you shine and you enjoy life more. And even if you're doing it just for selfish purposes, the more open your heart is, the brighter you shine, the more you get what you want in life. And so that's number one. Spend a couple minutes in, prayer or meditation, whatever your connection point is for your God, whatever your God looks like and feels like. And for me, it's just, I call it God, but it's really just a force of growth and love.
Mm.
It's not a person, it's not an old man with a white beard. Um, you as you grow up, you can have your own conception of it. So that's number one. And then number two is just do some basic visualization or picturing of the life that you want. Like, what are your key areas of life? Can you hold them in mind in your consciousness and send them love and gratitude? And what's that slightly next best version of yourself that your heart is telling you you should become? Can you start to clarify that, visualize it, step into it, and feel it and have appreciation for it before it's shown up outside so that it can? And that's what reprograms your subconscious. So just a couple of minutes every day to connect with your higher power, expand your feeling of love, and a couple of minutes every day to visualize the person that you're becoming and feel that. And if you do that, it doesn't have to be a whole lot of time. We do it together in a huddle because it's more fun. And I think the more people's lights are shining on it, the faster all this stuff grows and heals. But that's it.
Is that in person or that's online as well?
It's on Zoom. So it's
It's on
every
Zoom.
morning. Yeah, every morning, 11 a.m. Eastern time. So was that 5 p.m. Germany time?
'Cause
Yeah,
yeah, right.
11 a.m. Eastern time for 30 minutes. We do a 10-minute body and energy opening exercise where you're opening up the center channel of your body, opening up your chakras, opening up your body. Then we connect. Once we're open, we kind of shine the light into the space for each other, connect, see each other, smile, give love to the space. And we've got this nice warmed up space that's filled with light and love and life energy. And I'll usually do a 2 or 3 minute lesson about something super practical related to your spirituality or your subconscious mind with a takeaway if you want to do it. Each month we have a creative cycle, so you can choose a new goal each month. And so the lesson will usually relate to wherever we are in the creative cycle each month. And then we do about a 10 to 15-minute guided meditation where we settle our body and mind, step back into our consciousness, and visualize the life we're creating and nurture it with love and gratitude. Heal the parts of ourselves that are coming up that need to be healed. And just have a few minutes to connect with our individual higher power, respectively, to enjoy love. And then we get out of there. A lot of people stay after to do work or connect and talk, but it's 30 minutes. And for me, I'm excited because I feel like aside from church or Alcoholics Anonymous, there aren't really any, or, yoga classes are almost there, but not quite, right? And
Mm.
meditation groups are so few and far between.
Mm.
I feel like we're one of the first groups of people that's doing like a 30-minute spiritual fitness exercise program. And 40 years ago, there weren't that many gyms and there wasn't Peloton and there weren't, online fitness programs, but now it's kind of a non-negotiable. And hopefully we can be the start of a good trend where people start exercising their heart, exercising their subconscious mind every day, um, in addition to their body.
I love the term spiritual fitness. That's really cool. Like you're right, like yoga, you're almost there, but you're being guided and you're in the
Mhm.
poses and all of that. But that's different to having a sort of open. I mean, I'd have to experience it, but having a community connected in the way you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, because yoga, you get the spirituality incidentally. Most people start yoga for the fitness aspect of it, right? And then a small percentage of those people start to see and feel the a small percentage of those people who start yoga for the fitness aspect of it begin to see and feel the spiritual aspect of it, or maybe they'll be lucky enough to get a yoga teacher that's spiritually advanced, and they'll get more curious about that. And so yoga can be a nice gateway
Mm.
into more um, focused spiritual practice, but really it's not. It's, most yoga practices that are being offered aren't for the purposes of spirituality
It was an
overtly.
it was a nice gateway for me when I needed it. When we were talking about the flawed programming, and the yoga I did at the
Mm,
time. The teacher was actually, call it, a little bit militant, which I actually found awesome. Like he was almost like, it was NLP based, but he was very like,
mm,
when you're in these poses, he was giving you kind of positive affirmations, but almost
yeah.
like yelling them at me. And I actually needed it
Mm,
at that time. Like I needed it to be like,
that's
so
great.
it was a great gateway for exactly what we're talking about, to start having that reflection and that self-awareness, to then be able to start questioning the faulty programming
Yeah.
and start to bring about change. So yeah, it was a gateway.
Yeah, that was my gateway too. It was maybe
Mm,
15 years ago. A really good yoga teacher turned me on to some books about presence and, you know, staying in the present moment.
mm.
Um, those
No,
affirmations, that's part of our warm up. When we're warming up our body and opening up that center channel, um, we're also just saying a few I ams every day. Just because when the music's going and you're in this like really open, loving environment and you're starting to open yourself up, it's like the soil is very receptive at
mm.
that point to those I ams.
I love the physicality of it, like the getting in the body. So much stuff is kind of intellectualized or heady, like the fact that you're actually, opening the shot. You got like, there's so
Yeah,
much stuff that comes through physicality. Um,
totally. Yeah, and that's what the one thing is, like for the first, I say this as part of our body warm up, but for the first several years of our life, we spend it forgetting that we're spirit
mm,
and just focusing more and more on the body. And then eventually you get on some sort of spiritual path, right? Where you start believing in the invisible, whether it's the subconscious mind or spirituality and etc. And then you start focusing more on spirit and you forget that you're body. But really, and I did that for a long time, but really we're both.
mm,
And to have the full experience, it's not about trying to accomplish everything physically and accumulate everything physically and ignoring the spirit. But it's also not about vilifying the body and the sexuality and the abundance that can be really joyful and generous. But it's about both.
mm.
And so that's what we're trying to do. It's like the body and the conscious mind and your subconscious, it's all this channel through which that divine grace can flow. So you get the love, you get the creativity and the ideas, you get the inspiration for action, and then you start to see things accumulate and you give it all away as you receive it. You enjoy it for a time and then you let it flow, whether it's money or ideas or love.
Yeah, I think this concept of accepting that we are these channels and these vessels to receive information is very different to thinking that we are sort of dictating all the stuff, as opposed to it coming to us.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it all of, yeah, I just think this is the most fascinating stuff.
Mm.
And
It
you know,
really is. Really is.
it's so interesting and like it's so non-linear. So it's
Mm.
very hard to say I did this today and therefore I feel this way, or I did this today, therefore I got this in my bank account, or this cute person gave me their phone number or whatever, right? So it's really hard to make those connections. And so people um it gets ignored and the research isn't there. Um but I think that we're heading in that direction. Like going inward to understand these things is a really, really fertile area for more exploration and research. John Kennedy said in 1960, we're going to put a man on the moon. And then there was 500,000 people and billions of dollars that were spent over the next 10 years making sure that we got to the moon, or supposedly got to the moon. And if he had said, we're going to go inside and figure out what is God. We're going to figure out what happens when you die. We're going to figure out why reality unfolds the way it does. And we spent 10 years and $1 trillion and have 500,000 people working on that problem. We'd probably have answers to those questions right now. We might not have made it to the moon, but we'd know a lot more about how we work the way we work. It hasn't been explored. And so we're dealing, I think, at this point in humanity, we're still dealing with like, um, campfire rocks,
Mm.
stones. Like we're very on the infancy of understanding this stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
it's all empirical. It's all basically like, hey, I did these things. All of these spiritual teachings historically have emphasized like these four principles. So if I can leverage these four principles in my life can unfold more beautifully and easily, and I can be happier. Okay, I'm going to try that. But we can't really see a lot of the data. We can't see the science behind why it's working. We can't see the invisible that's there that's making all of this happen. And maybe science isn't the right paradigm for it because it's just different. But anyway, until until more exploration is done, then it's just kind of a leap of faith to begin with, and you start noticing enough good examples in your life and realizing, when you put your spirituality and your subconscious visualization type work first, life unfolds easily. When you forget to do it for a certain period of time, life gets more difficult, and that becomes enough evidence for a lot of people that it makes sense to focus on it just for really practical reasons, if nothing else.
It goes back to what you said earlier about the 98%, the shift, the switching it, the stuff we're focused on as opposed to what we could be focused
Yeah,
on. Um,
totally. Yeah, like, and it's from the top down, right? The
mm.
president says, let's focus on the external stuff
I'd
and
also,
put our money and resources there.
yeah, I'd also love to see a diagram, the sort of the way you described that foundational stuff when we were talking about the intuition, the layers and the foundation of,
Yeah,
being this channel. Like it'd be kind of cool to see that in some sort of um
I can share it with you
diagram.
if you want. I have a
Oh, you
lesson.
have one?
I can show you a slide. Yeah, if you enable screen sharing. I have a couple more
Yeah,
minutes I can
cool.
show you. But if you look on the left-hand side, like this is the description that I explained, right? You have on the far, you are like a movie projector.
Mm,
The projector that's in the back of the movie theater, right? And so you
hmm
have the light in that projector is your spirituality. And there's nothing religious about that when I'm talking about it. It's just purely how open is your heart, right? Or like
mm,
how open are you to receiving love, enjoying it, sharing it, also creativity, insight, etc. Right? So that's your brightness coming through from the left to the right in this diagram, right? So that's your openness, is that aperture setting on the left hand side,
hmm
right? And so like if I'm really open and really loving and really bright, that's really wide and bright. And if I'm not, then it's not, right? It's dull and that light is hardly coming through, right? And then it passes through your subconscious, which is your identity and your beliefs. So like, who are you? in your internal programming, underneath the surface, not even what you consciously believe yourself to be, but who are you really, right? Is there some sort of subtle trade-off between wealth and integrity from your childhood? Because that's what it was for me, right? Like I could either be a wealthy person or I could be a really good person. I couldn't be both. So how wealthy could you possibly get if that's part of your identity, right? Or
Mm.
your beliefs? And then that gets projected kind of like the film on the movie out, and it shows up then in your conscious mind in the form of insights or thoughts, right? Or intuition, you called it. And then you interpret those thoughts and insights and you use them to make decisions and take action. And then all of that is cumulatively what ends up falling into place and showing up on the screen of your reality. So if what you're seeing outside as your physical reality isn't what you want, trace it back.
Mm.
And it usually ends up being the result of either you have limiting beliefs or faulty programming in place in your subconscious, or you're not open enough and not shining enough love into the world. So like it's not even getting through. Like the changes that you're making aren't even getting
Got to
through. So
increase the aperture or pump up the
yeah, 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 yeah.
the
Exactly.
voltage.
That's the
Pump up
line.
the
That's
voltage.
right. That's right. That's the language, right? And so it's all about, and so that's what we're doing together every day is just making this more and more apparent, spending more and more time with this. So your reality starts to become these first two lenses or three lenses. And what you end up doing throughout the day is really ends up becoming incidental. Of course, you write down the ideas that you get and you notice the right people now and you take the right actions, but that's because you've become a new person. Um, and it doesn't feel stressful because you're not paddling in the wrong direction, trying to get someplace that your programming is steering you away from.
That's awesome. I love the projector and the various filters, and like you said, if the film's not what you're wanting to see, trace it back, change the narrative through these different lenses or filters,
Yeah.
to allow that light to really shine through. It's pretty cool. I dig it.
Thanks. Well, thanks for asking really great questions and having such a nice conversation about it.
Yeah,
I
awesome.
love this stuff. I'll talk about it anytime you want. And if you want, if people find this interesting, they can let you know. And I'll even come back and do like a guided meditation or a visualization exercise or something that people might find helpful. And if
Cool.
they are interested in this, they can come check out our community and join us for a few of those morning huddles and see if it resonates with them.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I'd love to join one of those huddles.
I'd love to have you there.
There you go, guys. Honest ratings for the show on Apple are appreciated. If you have a guest suggestion, please feel free to reach out on my website at danielthomas.co. I'm also on social media at Mr. Dan Thomas. Catch you on the next episode.